Hey, I'm Rutledge,
Hey, I'm Connor.
and we're Friend Stream Sports. We're real friends who talk about real sports in real time. And Connor, it's our goodbye night tonight to Madden 20 because next week we're gonna upgrade and we'll be playing Madden 22.
Yes, Rutledge, our swan song to Madden 20. For those who have stuck with us, just want to give a big thanks to everybody who continued to watch our old rosters. These rosters have officially become old enough, and Rutledge and I have maybe gathered up a few extra coins in the couch cushions, and next week we will be sporting some Madden 22. So let's have a good last go at it here at Madden 20, Rutledge.
I am excited to throw some pick sixes. That's what I do, and that's what I do really, really well. Um, but happy to be out here. This is as we're now into September. Um, And you have to think, Connor, we've come full around to September. There's a lot going on now in the sport. So tonight we're going to just kind of dive right in. And I want to start with baseball. And I want to start with the playoff race. I hope you're ready as we're here in New Orleans. Shout out to the people in New Orleans. Hope you're recovering okay. We know that there's a big mess still for you to get through. But I hope you get some football soon. So Connor, I want to start with turning this kickoff and going through the baseball standings in the Major League Baseball and where we're at. In the American League in the East, Tampa leads the division 8.5 games over the Yankees. In the Central, the White Sox have 10 games over Cleveland. In the West, Houston has 5.5 games over Seattle. In the East, Atlanta has a game and a half over Philly. And then in the Central, Milwaukee has 11 games over Cincinnati. And in the West, San Francisco has one game over Los Angeles. So really you can see that we are, even though we're early September, a lot of divisions are really starting to get buttoned up. But of course there's some NL battles. As we look at that, of course we're all going to be magnified in on the NL East because it's Atlanta, Philly a game and a half back, and the Mets are 4 game back. We still have tons of baseball to go. In the West, it is what we thought it was. San Francisco is a game ahead of the Dodgers, but they have 14 and a half games over the Padres. We know the Padres have been doing really well. I've been really impressed with. Oh, there's my first pick. I've been really impressed with what they've been doing, but those two teams are just way too stacked. So Connor, in the leagues, of course you can say the rest of them feel very locked up. How do you feel about those two that are kind of wide open?
Yeah, I think as it relates to the NL East, you've got some. You still have a ton of baseball left to be played, right? And everything. You've got a ton of baseball left to be played. It feels like it's coming down to the end. The thing about it, and I saw an article. Jacob DeGrom, or pardon me, not Jacob DeGrom, Syndergaard, the pitcher for the Mets. My apologies. Rutledge, if you just remember, I did come back very late last night, so please don't ding me. I hope I get like a little travel. Jacob DeGrom. Hope I got a little travel note there. But, now I threw a pick. His arm's healthy. I think that the Mets, they have had some interesting issues. I don't know if you remember seeing that story of because the Mets players were getting booed, the Mets players started booing the Mets fans, which I thought was pretty funny. The NL East, it doesn't feel like the winner of the NL East is going to be the World Series champ necessarily, but could very well have something to say in terms of a wild card spot, have something to say in terms of taking one of those NL East teams or NL West teams as far as they want to go. As this thing wraps up, I really think that we don't quite know how the NL East is going to shake out. With that, I think that it's going to be fair to say that we're going to be seeing some combination of the Dodgers winning the division with the Giants getting second, or we're going to be seeing that vice versa. The Dodgers the Dodgers are spending more money than the Yankees spent in their heyday by a lot in terms of percentage of payroll. in terms of percentage of payroll. So, definitely interesting to watch that work out. And I think that the West is definitely shaping up to be the best as it relates to the NL.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just even look at the wild card standings. So the Dodgers are 1 game behind the Giants for leading the division. They have a 13.5 game lead for the first wild card spot. And while we said that San Diego was 14.5 games outside of the division, they have they are 1 game ahead of Cincinnati. So it's really come down to that division is really holding on to the wild card race as well. It makes it really tough for whoever it gets, whoever doesn't win the NL East, because they're not going to have any room in the wild card play. Speaking of wild card play, in the American League, the AL East is pretty much running the wild card table, as no one blocked anyone on that play. In the American League, the Yankees lead with a half game over Boston, but then third place in the wild card race is Toronto. So there's no real room for anyone to have any sort of play in the wild card race. Either you kind of have to win your division this year, or else you're really looking from the outside looking in. So I know we're only on September 7th. There's so much baseball left, but there's really not. And I'm loving this baseball season of how it sort of tightened itself up. It'll be interesting to see what takes we do on the playoffs. I know we didn't cover as much of the playoffs last year, but there's a lot of great storylines still coming in, and I'm more happy that one of the American League divisions that we went through is at the top of the wild card race, because you know what that means. Once again, Connor, just like how we changed coaches around in Texas, we have changed the face of baseball. Can you imagine that? All through a good cup of Daddle's coffee. We're doing it one sports take at a time here on French Stream Sports.
Oh yeah, no, that's very true. I think we've definitely talked a lot about the NL West, and we seem to have talked a lot about the AL East. And oddly enough, Rutledge, the NL West and the AL East, if you were to take the top some of those top teams in my favorite baseball stat, your favorite baseball stat, that is run differential. You see a lot of you see another pick there.
How was
and
that
this
a
one
pick?
might go back to the house. You see a lot of those teams there in the very top. LA Dodgers with 219 plus 219 run differential. The next highest is Houston and Tampa Bay. They're both tied at 175, followed by the Giants at 145 run differential there. So, that's always a great stat in determining who's going to be, who's the best team is, who's winning by a lot. And I think that, yet again, you see the teams that are, have the best records, the teams that are passing the eye test. There's just with as many stats in baseball, right? I feel like there's, you need an abacus and a calculator and an advanced math degree sometimes to know your baseball stats. But just by following that simple stat of run differential really can peel back the onion to help you understand, who the really good teams are.
Definitely. Run differential is our favorite stat. Our second favorite stat is last 10 on their streaks. Of course, the best last 10 game streak right now in baseball actually belongs to the Philadelphia Phillies, who are on 8-2 in their last 10. So, tons of baseball drama. Lots to talk about as we close out this. Tons of playoff drama coming. Didn't want to hand the ball off there on that RPO. What a swan song here for Madden 22. I seem to have gotten worse at this game over the past year, Connor, than getting better.
Rutledge, that's that tends to happen when your opponent really hones in on what he's trying to do week in, week out, regardless of the rosters. And you just threw another pick.
There's no way that one was a pick.
Good job there, Rutledge. So no, it's I think these playoffs are going to be a lot of fun because you've got a lot of really quality teams. I think the Dodgers are definitely kind of the class of the NL, but I think in the AL you're going to see a little bit more of a wide open playoff, not just in terms of games, but really as you follow some of the money lines and where folks are placing their bets on. I think that's going to be really interesting to follow.
Definitely a lot to follow going on right now. Speaking of that, we have multiple people following us this evening. Thank you for coming out for our show, Friends Stream Sports, tonight at 8 o'clock on Twitch. Connor is definitely using all of his coaching sense. I feel like you know my Madden playstyle all too well, to where I can't just do anything anymore.
Rutledge, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. You need to know your opponent. You need to know what you do, but you need to know what your opponent does. Maybe better than what your opponent even is trying to do. One team that needs to figure out what they are going to be doing is this United States men's national soccer team. As we move on, that's quite a segue into our second quarter topic.
It's a huge segue into our second quarter topic, and I'll be honest to say that the U.S. men's national team just really seems lost. A 1-1 tie to Canada in a World Cup qualifier in what we know is a very manageable... That was just a very easy touchdown. Canada, and I will say this is being Canadian, is a very manageable opponent when going into a World Cup qualifier situation. But the team seems to not know... It's not about talent, it's just about the team seems to not know who it is and what they do, and it reminds me of the scene... Connor, you remember the hockey movie Miracle with Kurt Russell as the coach?
My second favorite sports movie.
As it goes, when he sat there and they sat on the rink after the game and they were skating, he kept asking them, who do you play for? It took one player to announce, I play for the United States of America, for them to get it of what they were to do. This team just doesn't have that sort of spunk to it. They have the talent. They've got some things in the trophy case that we got earlier this summer. But here's a good example of just why we're not focused on what it is. Weston McKennie was sent home because he had multiple violations of the COVID-19 protocol, including he brought someone that was not authorized to be in the team's bubble to be inside the team's bubble. And you're representing the country at this point. It wasn't like he was on a club game. It wasn't like he was on a professional game. You're representing the country for a country that missed the World Cup last year, and a country that desperately wants to love the sport that you're playing, and you're out doing whatever it is you're doing because you're not taking Canada serious. And it grinds my gears.
Canada's got some players.
Canada has some players. Kyle Laren's goal was no joke because, as Connor and I both know, being Orlando City fans, he is a good player. Canada doesn't produce slouches, and Honduras coming up is going to be no slouch. So
that's going to be, Rutledge, and I'll let you finish here, but one of the things about CONCACAF within the World Cup qualifying, especially as it relates to U.S. going on the road. Some of these stories you've read, especially about like a place like Honduras. The H in Honduras stands for hostile environment within their soccer stadium. Those fans are going to be wild. Those fans are going to be supporting their team, and those fans are going to want nothing more than to be in America that, quite honestly, has seemed kind of uninterested in sleepwalking through their first couple of matches in World Cup qualifying.
And we definitely can't be a sleepwalking club. There is no blocking on this Saints team as I try to throw passes. No blocking. We can't be a team that has to slouch. Our other countries are really going to take the World Cup qualifying extremely, extremely serious, and we would hope that our roster would too. And did we peak too early? Did we get too excited early? Do we not care? Do we beat up, not saying that a lot of our roster is in the MLS, but for those that are there, do they play each other too much in the MLS to where they can't come together and represent their country? Why is it that we just can't seem to focus and prove we are who our country wants us to be? I personally find it embarrassing that we have a lot of great resources and we have a decent amount of talent to pull from, and we can't seem to get out there and say, all right, guys, this is a World Cup qualifier. Let's get serious. No, let's bring in people. That's how someone got kicked off the Seattle Seahawks. That was a rookie last year as he decided to do stuff. That's what rookies do, not what people playing for the World Cup. And then once we get
And
in the World,
I think Rutledge, as it relates to that, it's very, very important to remember. And it's definitely not making an excuse by any stretch, but I do think that this speaks to some of the inexperience of the team. America is missing this generation's version of Landon Donovan, this generation's version of Tim Howard, that guy that is going to really be the leader of the team. Maybe not the captain, maybe not the best player, although Landon Donovan, maybe not great examples, but that guy that when Michael Bradley of sorts. I'm not a huge Michael Bradley fan, but the guy that when the going gets tough, he's gonna. Oh, there's Bourne right there, my long lost cousin, number 84. When the going gets tough and you're down 1-0 to Honduras 15 minutes in because you give up a quick, easy goal, that's going to rally the troops and remind them that it's not just the athleticism of America. America usually has very athletic players, but now you've got some very skilled technically players, and being able to remind the Americans who they are and what they're about. This team, as it related to the 2014 World Cup, it was beautiful to watch them, even though it was in a losing effort, but against Belgium, right? You knew what America was, their identity was. It was defend and counter. They're going to be gritty. They were going to give you everything they had. And there's just a little bit of an identity lacking, and I think it's because, Christian Pulisic, he's really, really good, right? But he hasn't been asked to carry Chelsea. He's a part of that system. Weston McKennie, he's a part of that system. Josh Sargent, a part of that system. Now with his club. So being able to have that kind of mentality and that personality, I think, is going to be very critical and something that the United States really needs to develop.
Yeah, there is no Landon Donovan clear leader, and it's been very felt in the United States that since Landon Donovan's moved on, we just haven't had that role filled, which is why we kind of, even though we have youth on the roster, they don't know what to do with their... That was the worst catch attempt. They don't know what to do with who they are. You're right, Christian Pulisic is a great player, but he is definitely just part of the system. In a team where he is a piece to a Champions League winning club. So we have work to do. The sad thing is it's during World Cup qualifiers, which makes both you and me really nervous. Switching gears here, something that made me nervous to watch scoring updates as we have this last 33 seconds, and I intend to try to score before the half, is Orlando City won a match where the ESPN updates started to make you real nervous a little bit when that score started to creep up, didn't they, Connor?
Oh yeah, no, that was quite the game. Being able to jump out 2-0. Man, Daryl DK, that guy can play. Well, you want to talk about a real offensive output, and Orlando. They've had some results that maybe weren't your favorite this season, but man, this is not the Orlando City of yesteryear. This Orlando City team will hang in there. This Orlando City team will fight till the very end. And with DK back, I think that's a huge lift for the Lions. Apparently Pato is training. So as much as we, love the fire and tenacity of Tesho Akindele, he just isn't clinical in front of goal. And you've got a guy in Daryl DK that could very well win that striker position for the United States men's national team, which is one of the really open positions on that roster. And, it's going to be really exciting to see this season finish because, as we get down to the business end of the season, Orlando's in the second seed right now. And, they're battling Nashville for the second seed, but this is a good quality team that, can make a deep run of the Eastern Conference playoffs.
They definitely can. They won't win the Eastern Conference as New England has that locked up with 52 total points for the year, but they definitely have a good shot at making some really good playoff magic because they're tied points-wise with Nashville. And as we know, in the United States, it's not about how you finish the season, it's about how you finish the playoffs.
Great terminology. It's about how you finish playing Madden 20 with each other.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, we need to talk about something so there's not dead air here on our podcast, Rutledge.
I don't want to talk about the score. I don't want to talk about it's 28-0. I don't want to talk about my picks. I hope 22 is more fun to play.
That's funny.
We skipped 21 because of how bad it was.
Yeah, a lot of hate for Madden 21. So hopefully 22 is better. Definitely excited for that. But Rutledge, do you want to tee up this next segment?
I want to check my stats first. I have 4 interceptions, and we're moving on. Okay, so our next segment here is as we're getting ready. Third quarter is going to be all about college football. We had a huge week 1, but we're going to talk about, out of all the teams who had a week 1, who needs a cup of Daddle's coffee out there in the college football world? Who needs some of that great hand-roasted coffee made out of Winter Park, Florida, made in small batches, ready to order, daddlesonline.com. Connor, if our friends go to daddlesonline.com, what do they get?
You get the great premium quality slow-roasted coffee where the proceeds go to research for health diseases, to battle health diseases for the King Charles Spaniel, and you get to enjoy all of that for 15% off just by using the promo code FSS, standing for Friends Stream Sports. So go to daddlescoffee.com, promo code FSS for 15% off your hand-roasted coffee made out of Winter Park, Florida. Great cause for some very nice paws.
What a great pause for Daddle's Coffee. And now it's for us to pause to say who of those Daddle's Coffee needing teams is needing a good wake-up call in the college football world. Who is not who we thought they were and is really struggling way too early to where they need to pull it together. I am going to go first, and I'm going to give the big wake-up call and shocker to a team that probably felt it this week, and I'm going to go Oklahoma. We know they played Tulane at home because Tulane, of course, had bad weather in New Orleans. But to come in as close as they did against a team where Tulane doesn't get them a lot of national attention because they're not an amazingly huge, well-known program, and Oklahoma's supposed to be a top 4. Spencer Rattler's supposed to be a Heisman candidate, and they're supposed to be making a playoff run. That's a wake-up call, if anything. They should have rolled through that game. In like a 45-0.
OU-PU. That's what I got to say. No, great selection. I think, I think Clemson, they've got a huge wake-up call. They by no means were they eliminated with their loss to Georgia, but not scoring an offensive touchdown. I think it's the offensive line was a question mark last year with Trevor Lawrence. And you got to remember, Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei he's going to be pretty good. But, Trevor Lawrence was a generational quarterback. Deshaun Watson, when he is doing the right things and making good choices, can be very, very good in the NFL. Jury's still out on DJ. So I think that the Clemson offense, especially the Clemson offensive line, needs a great infusion of Daddle's coffee, or they're going to prove me right as my bust and underperform this season.
Huge things going on as we get into the third quarter. And to all those people leaving notes in the chat, I for some reason can't get your comments tonight, so I apologize we haven't been responding like we like to. But want to come into the third quarter and everything. And I want to start with the new AP Top 25 for this week. And I'm going to share the top 6. Because I feel like that's a great place to start. In the top 6 of the AP Top 25 this week, we have Alabama 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Oklahoma 4, Texas A&M 5, and then Clemson hangs in at number 6. 7 is Cincinnati, 8 is Notre Dame, 9 is Iowa State, and 10 is Iowa. The first thing I want to call out is I really feel like the 9 and 10 Iowa State is just to make their game this weekend feel bigger. I don't think that Iowa should be as highly ranked as they are, yet for some reason the polls love to give Iowa more credit than what I believe they're due.
Yeah, I think that Iowa has a propensity to be sort of the feel-good story. People like the consistency. And I think an Iowa team that can at least somewhat withhold and withstand their ranking. You can get a late October game, Iowa, Wisconsin, where you got 2 top 25 teams for sure. So, sometimes Iowa gets a little inflated. I'm really excited to see this Cyclone State showdown of Iowa and Iowa State, because there's going to be a lot of folks flying around. It is a rivalry game. It is big in that regard. It is for the state, and I think that Iowa State is gonna really try to come out and prove that they're no joke, and they've had problems beating Iowa. So being able to come out with that win for Iowa State is gonna be critical. I think that Texas A&M, from somebody who has followed and has supported the Aggies for a while, one of the worst things that you could do for Texas A&M is give them a high ranking. Traditionally, A&M always plays best when no one expects them to be good, and we'll see if this is an Aggie team of yesteryear. It was a great nod to see A&M Rutledge. I don't know if you saw this, but A&M with a shout out to what they did for September 11th, having their red, white, and blue out, was a really, really neat sight to see. Aggieland, college football is always better when Aggieland's rocking. So, I think that's critical. And what's the one thing that never changes is the fact that Alabama is still really, really good.
Alabama, as they played what is a misscheduled Miami team in the game that Chick-fil-A bought, they're not going to really go anywhere. They are exactly who we thought they were. They're as great as we thought they were. I'm not surprised. I know we had that game on at my work, and when I saw the score run away, it was, it was what it was. Stephen the Steady is on, and he wants to point out that Coastal Carolina jumped from 22 up to 17 because they blew out the Citadel. And Stephen, I see the point that you're making is, yes, the Citadel is not a major opponent to sort of face off against. I think I'm not seeing that as an overrating. Pence can cover anything tonight against Connor. I'm not seeing that as an overrating of that that Coastal Carolina jumped up spots, because if you look at it, Texas jumped up 6 spots, even though they had their victory over, who did they beat?
Over UL Lafayette.
Yeah, over
Dude,
Lafayette.
They're no joke. That's a pretty good program.
UL Lafayette is a very good program in the Sun Belt Conference. Of course, Wisconsin lost, so they fell down 6 spots. And North Carolina lost, which really upset me. They fell down 14 spots. So I don't think Coastal and Texas coming up. It's not until you get into October that big moves in the polls start to get questioned.
Let me ask you this, Rutledge. If as we're talking about North Carolina, and I assume that you followed that game, do you think that we overrated North Carolina, underrated Virginia Tech, or this is a week 1 aberration? Because watching Virginia Tech run the ball on North Carolina as an offensive lineman was a thing of beauty.
I think I don't know how to play this game anymore. That's what I think. I think that we underappreciated Virginia Tech. I still think North Carolina is a great team to be reckoned with. I think this is one of that college football anomalies that college football is the only sport that you can lose early and still be great. I think they really have a really good shot to it. I think just we didn't give Virginia Tech enough credit. I think that's good for the ACC that Virginia Tech is going to be better, because if not, it was really just looking like North Carolina and Clemson and everybody else. Now that you did that, I'll give you this one, Connor. Who should be more worried about their season right now? LSU or North Carolina?
Ooh, I think LSU should be more worried about their season. Although kind of all the smart folks were saying that you better watch out. This UCLA team is actually good and actually really big. I think that with that, it's this a really good UCLA team might be a 3-loss UCLA team, which would be really good for UCLA. But if you're LSU, just that bad taste in your mouth. If LSU doesn't come out and win by 100 points next week, doesn't matter who. I mean, even if they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if LSU didn't come out and win by 100 points, there's going to be a lot of heat on and around the program. So I think LSU has a lot to be worried about. And, they play in a tougher conference. I think North Carolina can right the ship. And remember, North Carolina does not play Clemson during the regular season.
Yeah, I agree with you. LSU, they've got, especially in the conference out there, they've really got to figure it out. Both Steven and Emily are on in the chat, and they both are worried about LSU as well. Did I just run into your kicker?
You picked Clemson over Georgia. You ran into my kicker. Not your best week, Rutledge.
This is really not. This is not a good week for me at all. Thank God we're moving on to our NFL segment. It is time for us to get ready as NFL Week 1 is here. It's here. The football season is back. Connor, don't sing that. We can't afford that.
I didn't sing enough to where we would need to pay for it.
That's true. We have a lot more coffee to sell before we can start singing jingles. But
yeah, buy some coffee, people. Come on now. We got to get some sweet music going. That'd be awesome.
There you go. Emily, buy some coffee. I do not owe you waffles. You don't even eat full-size waffles. All right. That one's a pick. I think I'm just throwing picks on purpose now. Connor, are you bored of scoring touchdowns yet?
Oh, never. As a mighty second stringer for Wheaton College, our offensive line had one motto and one motto only. You know what that motto was?
What?
Score touchdowns.
Well, I would like to put out there in the live real time as it was, as I said, Connor, are you bored of scoring touchdowns? Anna Marie looked up for the first time in this show, saw the score, and just started laughing. So, for all you out there that know my wife, this is definitely a South. I'm glad this is the swan song for Madden 20. So
Rutledge, as the fourth quarter is going on, I know our viewers would love to watch me do our thing here as it relates to us playing Madden. But what are some of our thoughts on Week 1? How do you think this preseason ended up? What's kind of the big story you're following?
The big thing I'm following right now is there are two teams that I have my eyes on for this year in football. One is an obvious one that the whole world's going to watch, and the other one is just too much fun. The stories I want to see really sort of what happened are, is Tampa Bay still good? They show us no reason to not be. Tom Brady, we're all waiting for him to age. He still is not. It's like playing a video game with him. And the second one I'm really watching is, how good are the Cleveland Browns going to be? Not kind of good, not sort of good, how good? I'm a big fan of this Cleveland Brown team. I think they're going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of great things to watch. So those are the two teams I really kind of have my eye on this year. I believe in both. I would love to see, it's not going to happen, I'd love to see a Tampa Cleveland Super Bowl. I think Cleveland would have to get through Buffalo in order to get there, but I would just love to see that happen. So those are the two big team sort of stories, sort of overall themes that I'm looking at.
Let me ask you this, Rutledge, as it relates to the Cleveland Browns. They will be getting OBJ back, from his injury. Does the return of OBJ, is that an actual addition, or could there be a case to be made that it is subtraction by addition, as in will make the team worse by being out there on the field?
The return of OBJ is going to depend on what is his mentality like coming back from injury. We have seen some players come back from injury and they sort of they change, when they change in how they see and approach and play the game. Will OBJ be different, or will he be even more selfish? I think he got a lot of really high attention early in his career, and I want to know, has that humbled him now that he got hurt on a team to where they're kind of scrappy, I guess is the best way to define this Cleveland Browns reputation. So I think he'll be different. I have faith.
Fair enough. No, I think, that's the big thing now. What's the old Maya Angelou quote? People tell you who they are, you should listen to them. I tend to think that we do kind of know who the kind of, OBJ definitely a world-class talent, but somebody who sometimes in that receiver position, you can outshine the rest of your offense and the rest of your team, and kind of demand the ball and, then be a cancer in the locker room. And, I've yet to see OBJ not kind of be that role and not try to be a bigger deal than what he is. And I think that, to ask OBJ to just fit within a system, that's a tall task. I think if he does that, the Browns could be just incredible because of his talent. But that's just yet to be seen. So, and as it relates to the Bucks, I'll ask you the same question, but with another big-time wide receiver. Year 2 with Antonio Brown, do you think that he's going to start to try to be too big for his britches, or do you think he's still going to have that humble attitude?
I think he'll have that humble attitude because Tom Brady knows how to handle him. I'd also like to stash and put out there that the comment section needs to humble tonight because I'm getting ripped to pieces that I finally scored a touchdown out there. I think Antonio Brown is gonna... Nope. Never mind.
Hey, Rutledge, you want to know you want to know a great stat?
What?
And I hope our audience knows this great stat. I believe, you have just as many interceptions as points. So, next-gen stat machine, Rutledge, and turnovers and points.
I mean, I wore my turnover chain for this show.
Turnover chain. So who's a team that you're looking to maybe take a big old step backwards this year?
Big old step backwards this year, the Dallas Cowboys. And like a big old step backwards. I believe that Washington is going to take that division. I believe that Dallas is, talent-wise, they're a little overrated. I think Jerry Jones needs to step back a little bit. I think he's doing way too much. But I'm really putting it out there that I think the Dallas Cowboys are not going to do well this year. And it's going to show Thursday they're going to get exposed.
I think in terms of a team that's primed to take a big step backwards, I could see some real issues for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year because of the strength of the rest of their division. Because of another year of the Cleveland Browns in their front playing well, another year of Big Ben getting older, another year of the Baltimore Ravens getting better. To be able to see what is Jamar Chase going to do with Joe Burrow up there in Cincinnati. So And I think that as the AFC North gets better, I'm not convinced that the Pittsburgh Steelers got a whole lot better. And, you could see a whole lot more losses in that L column for the Steelers this year.
I agree. Well, as it goes, we have picked away that game. It's time for us to pick some picks as we get ready for this NFL season.
Picks.
I'm going to shoot out there. We're going to do 2 college games and a pro game. College-wise, our first college game to select is going to be played in the great state of Ohio as the Ohio State Buckeyes take on the Oregon Ducks in what is a huge game for Oregon. Ohio State, though, is favored by 14.5 points. Connor, who is your choice in this one?
I see, if you were to talk the line, I would definitely see Oregon covering. I think it's going to be a whole lot closer than the experts think. But I could see, Ohio State's just so stinking talented. CJ Stroud was put under some pressure in the last game, and I think that being able to still come out with the win is going to be big. But Oregon to cover, Ohio State to win.
Okay, I am also going to take Ohio State to win. I do not think Oregon will cover. Steven and Emily out there, I want to see your picks in the comments. Next we're going to do the Hawkeye State battle. We're going to look at Iowa versus Iowa State. Who are you taking in it? And second one, who is it a more important win to?
First off, in terms of the win, I'm going to pick the team and the program that has the 5-star culture. I think Iowa State is going to win that football game. And I think that it's going to be a much larger game to Iowa State because they have playoff aspirations. I am not sure that Iowa necessarily, if you were to truly ask each of those players, if they think that they were going to make the playoffs, I'd be hard pressed to find a roster full of guys that think, oh yeah, we got a shot at making the playoffs. I think Iowa State totally thinks they have a great shot, but to do that, you got to beat Iowa.
I am also going to go Iowa State. It's a huge game for them just because when you're in a state where you are the program that's on the rise but not the main looked at one, it's huge to beat when you're not seen as the number one attention seeker. It's also they have a big year ahead of them, so I am also picking Iowa State. Next we have in one more game for the evening, we're going to look at the NFL and we're going to pick there's so many good ones. We're going to go random. Here it is. This is the game I want us to pick, and that is Sunday, 4:25 Eastern Time on CBS, Kansas City versus Cleveland.
Ooh, Kansas City versus Cleveland, and that's at Kansas City, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, Kansas City's going to win by a lot. They, if you look at Andy Reid's stats in September, that's the worst time to play the Chiefs is right at the beginning of the season. So, Chiefs hands down. They could, this could be a game to turn off potentially in the fourth quarter.
I am going to go upset alert here, and I'm going to, for fun, throw it out there and blob it up and see what happens, and I am going to pick Cleveland. I think this could be, if Cleveland wins this game, this will totally ripple through and change the early impressions of the NFL season.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And we'll talk about it next week.
We'll see. Our viewers are split. Steven and Emily. Steven picks Kansas City. Emily picks Cleveland. So everyone, thank you for coming out. Make sure to follow us on Twitch. Follow our YouTube channel. Get you the podcast. Go get you a cup of Daddles Coffee. DaddlesOnline.com. 15% off. Promo code FSS. Make sure to get you some coffee. Steven, I know he has it. He said it was really good when we were talking about it the other day. They have a pumpkin blend that they just dropped. They work super hard. Connor, anything to say to our fans before we go?
Let's get ready for week 2 of the college football season. That's going to be huge. And if anybody has any pull with people at ESPN College Football Game Day or Fox's Big Noon Kickoff, if anybody could put in a good word, that broadcast in 2 weeks needs to be covering the Wheaton College versus North Central game. It can be a top 5 Division III matchup. I would be very appreciative.
I think we should make an appearance, but I think it'd be great.
Well, without further ado, Rutledge, shall we sign off?
Yes, we should for our last game on Madden 20 as we get ready for new horizons in the future. I'm Rutledge.
And I'm Connor.
And have a great night.